Hi and welcome to my very first video FAQ. A couple days ago I put out on Facebook and Twitter if anybody had any questions I would be answering them in a blog post. Well, what happened was a really awesome thing. A lot of people responded and it was so great to see so many people with so many amazing questions. And if any of you know me personally, y'all know that I don't know how to type, but I sure know how to talk fast. So JD and I decided to try something a little bit new, which is to talk through some of the answers because I feel like I could probably get through them faster in a video form than I could typing it. So here we go. Maybe these will become like a regular thing on the blog, maybe not. If y'all like it, talk back to me. If you don't like it, it's all good. We don't have to do it again. I'm gonna start off with just pulling a few of the questions. A lot of the people on Facebook had very specific questions about shooting. I encourage people to ask a bunch of different questions about anything in the world, but it all, of course, came back to shooting. So I'm gonna focus specifically on a few of those questions. I'm gonna start off with a question from Arleth Gutierrez, and she asked, do you do anything in Lightroom to get rid of your grain? I've seen some of your metadata and you shoot at high ISOs over 2000 sometimes. Just wondering if the Mark 5D, my bad, is awesome with grain, or if its awesomeness is assisted a little in Lightroom. And one thing too that I want to do and let y'all know is that I'm gonna try to do this entire video in a single take because I don't know how to edit video. So if I make mistakes, we gotta just roll with it. So going back to Arleth's question, she asked about the grain. I actually don't shoot too often at high ISOs, but in the case that I do, I always make sure to include a light source within the frame, and that light source is illuminating my subject in the way that I want to. If that light source was not in the picture, I would have to deal with so much grain, and that's not necessarily my style. So I do not use any noise reduction software or any type of grain removal in Lightroom. What you see is kind of what you get. So the answer to that question is no, I don't use any assistance in Lightroom to get rid of grain. I have another question. Joel Carter asks, say you just a photo black and white because of high ISO and resulting grain. What do you say when a client asks for it in color? Well, that answer is easy for me because I actually request to have my galleries, every image that you see from a wedding will come in color, specifically after I have it outsourced to be produced. All the images will be in color. That way a client has the option, and the client knows in advance, I explain in advance. If you have a color picture, you can always make it black and white or sepia. You can't take a black and white image and make it color. So that makes it easy for me in the back end, and something for y'all to consider too. Sarah Hall asks, you have great focus in all your shots, even with a shallow depth of field. I would love to hear a bit more about how you focus, specifically if you use auto or manual focus. I use autofocus, and I have to tell you, I get this question day in and day out. The main thing about shooting with really shallow depths of field, say at a 2.0 or anything wider, like a 1.2. The main thing is to always focus on the eye. As long as you have the focus tack sharp on the eye, the picture will always appear to be extraordinarily sharp, which is how you want to do it. And practice. I do not have any tips, I do not have any tricks. If I did, I would definitely share them, but I don't have any. So the only thing I could say in this situation is practice a lot. Practice on your dogs, your children, your husband, an unwilling parent, whatever the case may be. Focus on the eyes and shift and recompose within the frame if you feel like that might help you. Shanoa Pickering asks, I'm all about wondering how in the world you get crisp images at a 1.2. Is there more to Kubota's sharpening than I realized? This is very similar to the same question. Yes, I reduce my picture's size and then sharpen with Kubota, and this helps very much so when you sharpen for the web specifically. However, shooting at a 1.2 yields amazing results. I have done a ton of blog posts about shooting at a 1.2 and a 1.4. There's no trick to it. Simply focus on the eyes and then the picture takes its own life form from there. But practice, that's a big thing. The very last question comes from Valerie Estrada. What do you do with your bad pictures? Or what do your bad pictures look like? Honest question. I'm frequently disappointed when I'm going through my raw wedding images because I feel like I waste so much space on a bad picture and I feel like everything you produce is magic. No. I'd like to see the ones you don't use. Does Jasmine ever get sloppy? Make me feel better about my work. Well, the good news is, Valerie, I do take not so pretty pictures. I think it's the nature of what we do. However, I have to also say that I work really hard to minimize the slop, and I encourage you to do the same thing. Back when people were shooting film, You had to be a lot more selective in how you composed your picture. You had to be a little bit more strategic in what you did. I try to take that same approach when how I shoot digital. I'm not simply, just because I can doesn't mean that I am. I'm not simply having my camera here and just shooting sloppily. I try to make the picture happen before I actually capture the picture. So I get my settings right, I get my focus right, I figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it. So that way when I take my camera and I shoot 2 or 3 photos from there, I know I got it, it's good, I can move on and focus on something else. So I encourage you to do the same thing. But yes, I got a little slop, but I work on minimizing it, and I hope you do the same. Thanks y'all. I know I talk a little fast. If you'd like to tune in again, I'd love to hear from you, and I hope to do this again at some point in the future. We'll kind of see how that goes. Thank you and have a great day.